My fellow Majors, the next update for Menace has arrived, and someone needs to get Casper Van Dien on the line because it's time for the Bug War. Yes, that's right, the bugs have gotten a major update with this one, and it makes them quite scary looking. We need to talk about just what it is that they're going to be bringing to the table. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman, and welcome back to the channel. Hello everyone, if you enjoy what I do, including my ongoing coverage of the early access period for Menace, one of the most promising up-and-coming turn-based tactics titles of the year, then a like on this video, a subscription to the channel, and consideration of checking out my Patreon would be very much appreciated. Thank you so much. Also, apologies for the slight delay on getting this one out. I know the update's been out at time of recording for a couple of days now, but I have had an absolute metric ton of stuff on my plate for channel work. So if you're interested in seeing what all that is, because I can't talk about it just yet, that's a double reason that you should be subscribed. Now, as far as this update is concerned, we have a couple of caveats to note here. First, I have not actually been able to get any footage of the new bugs, so this is strictly going to be some background footage that I took in an attempt to find them. And we'll have to rely on some of the screenshots added as part of the update to show just what exactly it is that we're talking about here. Because even though I went through 3 whole operations since the update dropped, I have not found a single bug one, which is very annoying. Secondly, I think this is really going to elevate the bugs to a new level, kind of equivalent to the Rogue Army and the Menace, as something that is actually threatening in the late game. As while they were very scary in the early game, once you got your teams online, your squads equipped, some vehicles, they really became much less of a threat. No longer. Let's look through this. A big goal of this update was to add more units with high point costs, as to reduce the amount of units needed to fill up armies, so there should be a little less spam of bugs on some of these maps. Less units translates into faster turns and less pressure on hardware. We'll have to see if what Overhype is saying here actually comes through. The new units will show up roughly after the 8th to 10th operation, so don't expect to run into them right away, and of course this update is compatible with the existing save game. The Blaster Queen is our first point of discussion here. In order to add more anti-armor options that are ranged, we added the new Blaster Queen. It's a mix of the existing Blaster bug, but comes with the size and staying power of the classic Queen. It creates a massive ball of heated bioplasma that it can haul over long distances and that explodes on impact. This attack can shred armor on vehicles, but is most effective in fighting heavily armored infantry, as it turns them into a smoking pile of ashes. Very scary, as I do like my heavy infantry. Spear of the Spine, shout out. Now, something that's interesting about the wording of this here, and if you guys have actually encountered the Blaster Queen, as I have unfortunately not been able to up to this point, do give me some clarification, but the fact that it's described as hauling a ball of heated bioplasma over long distances, is this something it's carrying behind it and then throws? Or is this just like a weird translation thing where they mean like it fires balls of heated bioplasma over long distances? Because that's how the current blaster bugs work. They walk up, they shoot a giant heated ball of gich at you, blow up a couple of your guys, and then usually walk away into the fog of war because they're assholes. I would assume that the Queen would operate the same way, but if she actually has different mechanics here, that could be pretty interesting. It would make a very distinct visual silhouette if it's just dragging a ball of plasma behind it for some reason. Likely not what's happening here, but it was an interesting thing I wanted to bring up. Next up, we have the Harpy Queen, and oh, I'm very afraid of these. The Harpies, boy, they get me, man. They get me real bad sometimes when you have the ones that are actually able to spit acid at close range and blow up half of a squad. Ugh. The new Harpy Queen is a massive variant of the existing Harpy unit that poses a fast-moving challenge to players who will have to take her out before she gets to attack. It can spew a massive area with acid liquids that deteriorate armor as well as burn through skin and flesh. The Harpy Queen, just as the other queens, brings a discipline buffing aura to make other Xenos in her vicinity more resilient. And I do like this. It's good to have other queen variants, much like with the Blaster Queen, for these different bug variants, a kind of top end for those types of units. But I am very, very scared of this. Something that big that can move that fast, it should be a decent enough target to try to hit, but the devastation it could potentially wreak, especially if it comes up on you when you're not expecting it, oh man, I don't know. That one has me very concerned. Again, if anyone has actually fought the Harpy Queen, do let me know what your impressions of it are in the comments, as with anything else with these new units, because this one has me particularly concerned. Then we have the Evolved Warrior, and this is another very scary one, and should be familiar to any of you who played the Heart of the Swarm expansion for Star Wars 2. This very much reminds me of the Leaping Zerglings, but let's get into it. If you thought hanging back and relying on long-range firepower is the best solution to alien swarms, then you have to think again. Alien warriors are evolving into a new, highly mobile threat. These warriors have grown wings to quickly jump over long distances, land right next to your troops, and tear them apart with their claws. It is definitely time to bring some close combat firepower now. So this is great for two reasons. First of all, it adds more layers to the various different archetypes of warrior, which is kind of the standard heavy battle line of the bugs, I would say. And that's always good to see that there's going to be more variants of them over time. And also, as they shout out here in the article, it's another reason to encourage players to bring close combat capabilities. As we know, this is a big critique of Menace when it first launched into early access, just how much raw power long-range rifle squads brought to the table, and Overhype has done a lot to address that criticism and widen the sandbox of options. You have more SLs that want to be in close range or who can just survive being in close range. You have more close range options for guns that are more powerful, such as the miniguns becoming very powerful but very close range, a lot of new powerful SMG options and the like, and now enemies that are actually going to force that on you, meaning that you're going to have to preemptively bring some close combat options if you're going to be fighting the bugs in particular. I love to see this. I'm very afraid of these warriors, but I think they're going to pose an interesting challenge, and any sort of kind of close range specialist like Lim, who has counterattack and can also be using like an SMG or a shotgun, is very much going to enjoy facing off against these guys. Finally, as far as the bugs are concerned, the Stingers did get a new skin as well to make them more easily identifiable. All these changes to the way the different bugs look is very welcome to me, as they can wind up getting very samey, especially in similar archetypes. The number of times that I just wasn't really paying super close attention and thought I'd easily be able to blow away a squad of warriors that were young warriors in my head, and they were actually full warriors with their full armor. It caused problems for me a lot, so being able to more quickly distinguish these things at a glance is going to be very welcome. Finally, we have another new weapon skin with the enhanced EM assault rifle. Very nice to see, since there's so much cool modification capability for anything using the Menace tech as you get into the workshop and start upgrading your existing guns. Being able to see it physically on your models in a battle will be very nice. Finally, as always, we have the full change logs here. It's not a lot, so I'll probably hit most of these pretty quickly, but again, I will have a link to the patch notes in the description if you want to read it for yourself. For the new options, we of course have the new alien units, the Harpy Queen, the Blaster Queen, and the Evolved Alien Warrior, and the new 3D model that we just mentioned. And then we have some improvements here. There's a new attack animation for the Alien Harpy. Again, haven't had the chance to see it for myself, but I'm eager to actually encounter it at some point. The new skin for the Alien Stinger, new backlights to various pirate vehicles, which is cool, just add a little bit of extra visual flair. New shooting sounds for the blaster bugs, which is interesting. I'm curious to see what that actually sounds like, because I did kind of like that solid artillery-esque thud that they made originally, so hopefully that's good. And reduce the volume of some alien idle sounds. I'm assuming that's like the screeching and chittering that they do sometimes while you're planning your moves. As far as bug fixes are concerned, the OCI signal blocker is now a bridge OCI. I guess it wasn't before. The MP3A9 SOF PPP secondary fire mode was not marked as suppressed. That's a very important one if you're trying to have a stealth squad, so glad that that's fixed. Counter-Strike sometimes use the wrong fire mode. This is one that I did notice and it was very annoying, especially if you're using a character that has one of the new SMGs that can be in rapid-fire close-range mode or a much slower single-fire but decently ranged mode. Having them not fire in the correct mode at the correct time was very aggravating. Destroying a tank while it was fleeing no longer results in an irremovable wreckage. Very nice, because they're so very good at getting in the way. Mines no longer get destroyed when a smoke screen is placed on top of them. Had never encountered that before, but good to see fixed. Mission Restore Energy Supply had no early game reinforcements, so expect more troops there. Mission Restore Energy Supply had no alternative map layouts, so expect some more variety there. Mission Escort Research Truck had wrong reinforcement settings, which I don't think I've ever encountered this mission, actually. I didn't know that was a thing, so hopefully I'll see that at some point. Sometimes the armor penetration, armor durability, and armor damage tooltip linked to armor only. Not entirely sure what that means. I guess like you could only see those tooltips if you were looking at the armor itself, not like weapons and things. Not entirely sure. Blueprint dialogue is localized now. that's good, because it's nice to actually have the language that you're playing the game in be the language that different aspects of the text in VO use, and then fix various UI issues and various typos. Finally, as a balancing change, two things that are very interesting, one of which I'm very happy about. The Alien Bombardier discipline was reduced from 70 to 65. Not a huge change, but literally anything that hits the Bombardiers I'm happy about because I despise those things. But then also, morale recovery for all alien units was doubled. That sounds brutal, but it was very easy to make huge swaths of alien units start to run with some morale damage. So probably fair that that got changed. Something to keep an eye out for once you are fighting the bugs again, though. They might not be quite as easy to route as you're used to, so keep that in mind. And that's the Bug War update, or just, the Alien update as it's billed here. Nice changes overall for the bugs. They definitely, in the mid to late game, become the sort of breather faction that it's nice to see when they show up in an operation. You're just going to be able to blast through, get a bunch of XP, get OCI upgrades, get a bunch of different parts to be able to put on the black market to buy new stuff. I know I was using them for that quite a bit once you got out of the early game. Now they should be a little bit more threatening and a little bit more of a challenge, which is awesome. As I mentioned, I've not had the opportunity to actually see them in action for myself yet, though, just because I've been very, very busy. So please do give me your thoughts and impressions in the comments so I have a little bit more to work with there. And again, as mentioned, I do have a lot of things in the works right now. If you like tactics games beyond just Menace, keep it tuned here over the next couple of weeks. There is going to be a lot happening for streams, videos, major reveals that I have NDAs about and cannot discuss yet. Lots of cool stuff. With all that said, though, I'm going to wrap this one up here. My name has been Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope that you all have a good night. Stay safe and healthy out there, everybody. And remember, be good to each other, y'all. Bye now.